Manmohan Singh gave the nation an unexpected and a hugely pleasant surprise on Friday last week, announcing key reform measures, and one of these announcements have a direct impact on the real estate sector. Opening up of multi-brand retail format to 51% foreign direct investment or FDI. We have been capturing on the show how retail, one of the key drivers of real estate, has been under pressure for almost all of 2012. Vacancy levels in several malls across the country are quite high, as much as 26% in the National Capital Region and 23% in Navi Mumbai. Let's get a perspective from Harminder Sani, founder and MD Wazir Advisors, and Harinder Dhillon, Senior Vice President Raheja Developers, who are both with me in the studio. Gentlemen, thanks very much for being here. Harminder, I remember the last time we did the big retail debate, and you said, I mean, retailers have stopped innovating and there are lots of issues why the sector is under pressure. But this move on a standalone basis, is this a big move or is it more a sentimental push and just a small move for the
No, I think it's a really big move. It's a really big move because let's say if this policy would have come through 5 years ago, at that point of time one would have said that yes, policy has come through and people will come in as and when they want to. But the way the government has played it, and it all looked very wrong at that time. For the last 5 years they have been dilly-dallying the whole thing. It has built expectations. Lots of people at different point of times, international retailers I am talking about, they made their plans and they were ready to move, and then the policy didn't change. And then it changed a little bit when they allowed the cash and carry and then the into single brand. Some people came in, some people found certain structures in which they could come in, but there are many more people who didn't come in, but they made the plans and they're waiting to come in. So it's not that everybody will come tomorrow, but over a period of next 3 to 5 years, I clearly see that this is a very, very big move for the industry and for the overall economy itself. And if I could add that, I see organized retail not as an industry, I see it as an infrastructure. Because the downstream investments which will come in, we have seen in case of clothing, fashion brands, with the malls and with the better stores and with more brands coming in, how much all of us are consuming much more of clothing. Same will happen with electronics, with furniture, with food. This is bound to happen. So investment, even if it's $5, $10, $20 billion which will come into retail, I think the overall push to the economy will be in seriously large numbers.
And that will have its own repercussions on the real estate sector, because I mean, after all, retail has to open an organized real estate or the malls as we speak. So, I mean, are you viewing it with a little bit of skepticism right now, Harinder? Because there are some limitations that the government has imposed to just keep all the political parties happy and give the signal out that we are not going in an irrational all-out way. So it's limited to cities which have a population of 1 million plus, and only states which are voluntarily going to accept or agree to bringing in FDI, which is 9 states and 2 union territories. Is that limiting? That's why I wonder if it's just it's not a big enough move.
I think the step is very welcome and it has been long overdue. However, one needs to take into consideration the fact that the retail industry has been bleeding. It's been literally bleeding, and this move is going to ensure fresh infusion of capital inflows, which has been really desirable.
So you're talking not real estate retail, but retail. So your Shoppers Stop and your Pantaloons, which are going through a rough patch.
The real estate retail as such also has been on a downturn. If you compare it with the residential property market, the retail property market has really not seen capital values going anywhere.
Absolutely.
So this should definitely shore up demand, because when you're going to have huge amount of retail flowing in, with the kind of FDI that is going to be expected in this, the demand for retail spaces are going to boom, going to skyrocket, and we should see a lot of movement on capital values as well.
So developers such as you, will you change your plans now? I mean, look at this. Some of the data points that I have, multi-brand retailers will typically look for larger stores, Harminder. 15,000 to 20,000 square feet space is probably just an average that we're looking at. A Walmart will look at 40,000 square feet is the minimum requirement to set up a Walmart kind of a store. So that's a huge spurt, isn't it? at once. So first, how do you think this will pan out for real estate? Will first the unabsorbed space get taken up? Secondly, do you think developers are actually going to change their plans and move some of the development from, let's say, residential to retail?
No, I think both will happen, because many of these, like you said rightly, the average size of the store which some of these international retailers, the big ones, Home Depots and the Best Buys and the Walmart, they will look for, is fairly large. Many malls, they do not have those kind of spaces. When you can say average Walmart 40,000, that's mainly for countries like India when they talk these kind of numbers. In US, they are moving to super centers where the average size is 350,000 square feet. And these are standalone properties. They don't go into malls and they don't go into any other commercial building. So I think in India, initially they are starting small and then they will move on to larger spaces. A supermarket of 15,000-20,000 square feet, which we think is a supermarket, is just a supermarket. It's not really super.
But in India, getting even larger spaces than 40,000 is not going to be easy. Setting up malls totally out of the city will have its own problems, because your transport infrastructure isn't so good that you just hop on, you reach, you do your discount shopping and come back. It doesn't happen in this country. So it will remain maybe 40,000-50,000.
Cost and benefit. Retailers will do their cost and benefit analysis first, whether they need to keep the rental cost low and benefits of having lesser consumers who will come outside, or they will do the cost benefit analysis on every time when they are going to shop. And both of them, factor which will drive their choices will be the options available. So if there are no options available closer to my home, I will willy-nilly be forced to go farther to shop for it, whether for the retail space or whether for my basket itself.
I know for sure, Sameer, that if there is an IKEA store, wherever it is in the NCR, I will go.
Absolutely. I think India is waiting for a real...
I'm just being very honest, and I could do a dipstick now in this 30 to 40 high consuming class, and they would go.
India is actually waiting for the real retail revolution to happen. It still hasn't taken off.
So you think it's a significant move, and the kind of subdued environment we've seen for mall space,
but
especially in 2012.
I still think it's going to take a little bit of time, because I think the foreign retailers are still going to wait and watch, because there's been a lot of flip-flop by the Indian government. So I don't know, they're going to be absolutely sure whether this time, after the announcement has come through, whether it'll follow through and it'll become a law, really speaking. So one doesn't really know that.
I think this time Manmohan Singh has said, if we have to go, we must go fighting, right?
Yes.
So I think it will go through. That's my own instinct, which says it. We're all hoping so. But I mean, I asked Harinder that question, Harmita, but from you, is that a little disappointing that it's got restricted to, let's say, a certain population? I don't think anyway these retailers would have gone to cities which have less than 1 million population. So I don't think that's a big worry. But just the fact that it's got limited to states which are...
No, it doesn't. Positive. If you look at Metro, if you look at Walmart, they have been here for many years. How many states they have gone to with their cash and carry? Nobody's stopping them to go to all 28 states.
Absolutely.
So they haven't gone. So there is a limit to which they will also go, because it's not about just setting up the store, finding a nice building and pushing some stuff inside and getting some customers to come in. There is a huge amount of investment which goes into the back end, and the people and the training and the suppliers and the quality standards and the imports. There's lots of work which has to go into it. So even if you allow, and we have allowed in 100%, the government has allowed to, in cash and carry, you can go to all states, they haven't. So it will take time. So as long as they have enough to start from and enough space to go for, I think the bigger challenge is going to be investment into some of the existing retailers, where you'll have to do a lot of restructuring of creating SPVs and holding companies, and the companies which will hold the stores which are in the states which are allowing and which are not allowing. So all that will be a complex, but I think lawyers and consultants will be busy.
That's what you're also there for.
Absolutely. So happy
to reorganize structures for 9 states and push out the rest of the businesses. Harinder, tell me, I mean, would a developer such as you want to actually now look far more seriously? So you said that you have a couple of malls, but your forward thrust was more in office space. Would you actually relook at your strategy right now and go back to the drawing board and say, hey, should we not do an office space, but should we do a mall?
I think that definitely would be happening, because this policy decision, which has been extremely welcome, would change a lot of thought process that normally goes when we are on the drawing board for any development plan which is there for a project. Normally our thought processes were more onto the hotel and the commercial office spaces side. But now with this kind of change, definitely we would be more welcoming retail spaces. Since the number of retail players would increase, their various calculations and their various parameters would be changing, and one would feel that yes, that could be a business that would be far more viable than what it has been till now. Far more healthier as well.
You think sentimentally you would see some amount of improvement, or occupancy levels can't change overnight,
From
right?
a developer point of view?
Yes.
I think they'll be quite excited. There are a lot of malls that are still empty. They're going on 50% occupancy, but they'll still have to wait and watch as to when this will translate into real space being occupied in those malls.
I think they still need some holding power. It's not going to happen overnight, isn't it?
Yeah,
it will take some time. All right, I'm going to bring in the views of Govind Srikhande, MD Shoppers Stop. It's nice to get a retailer's perspective as well into this discussion. My colleague Bianca caught up earlier in the day with him and started by asking him, now that retail companies such as Shoppers Stop may be allowed to bring in FDI, how does it really improve the fortune of the retail sector? Because remember, if the retail sector doesn't do well or continues to be under pressure, then all that we're talking about is actually pretty futile.
It's a practical, pragmatic, but could have been better according to me. And only one decision is not going to change the entire retail industry. I think what a lot of people are still missing is to really cater to this kind of a regulation, which has got 3 steps within that. Whether it is number of states which agree, 100 million with 50% coming behind, and the kind of regulations that are still on ground, which are not changing, which is GST not changing, APMC Act not changing, Octroi not changing, service tax on rent not changing, service tax on power, that's new now, that's not changing. So I don't think you can suddenly say you have reached 7th heaven. There is still a lot of time to go.
Would you also perhaps, Govind, shore up your planned expansion plans and also guidance?
No, as of now the guidance remains the same, about 8 stores every year for the department store format and 2 stores every year in the hypercity format, so that still remains.
All right, so domestic retailers are not yet terribly excited because all of them are under pressure. I mean, so literally we have to depend on what we are talking about, which is FDI coming in, fresh money is coming in, and maybe them either investing in existing companies or finding new partners.
Absolutely.
Do you think new partners will happen? New players?
Yeah, certainly they will happen, because if they have to do 51-49, they have to find the partners, and so there will be 2 ways people will look at it. One, they will look at it that if I need to have the head start, let's go with the partner which has already done something. But the point is, there are lots of players who have done something and they've created a kind of a legacy business. So others will take the call that I don't want to carry this legacy. I'll rather go on the fresh ground, because just 4-5% of the organized retail today out of 95, and still growing at more than 10% per annum, right? So
the top-down numbers are so mouth-watering.
What I'm saying is that it's such a little organization of retail which has happened. Why would I like to carry the legacy? If it was already 50% in a stagnant market, it was no-brainer. But now when you have a situation like this, many will take this call that I'll rather go absolutely clean slate, only take a partner which is a partner which doesn't have any current retail business. So you will see lots of joint ventures happening in which people will go into partnering, retailers will go into partnering with the people who do not have any retail business.
That's an interesting thought and very exciting opportunities for a whole lot of corporates who are not already in the business. Harinder and Harminder, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me here. As always, your perspective has been extremely insightful. We're going to come back and keep taking your questions, so write into us. Numbers are on your screen, property@ndtv.com. That's also where you can send us your feedback on what you think in terms of allowing FDI in multi-format retail sector in this country. Up next, smart home options in Chennai and high-end options in Kolkata. Budget is high, 1 crore plus. But keep watching, I'm sure you've got the money.